I remember the first time I saw her. It was a calm Sunday afternoon, the kind where the sun dipped slowly into the horizon, casting golden hues across the neighborhood. I had just moved into my new apartment complex a few days prior. Everything felt unfamiliar. The creaking elevators, the scent of floor polish in the hallways, the sound of distant kids laughing. I was 26, freshly out of a messy relationship, trying to piece myself back together in a new city. I wasn't looking for anything or anyone. And yet, that afternoon, life decided otherwise. She stepped out from the apartment directly opposite mine, tall, confident, and dressed in a sleek navy blouse with high-waisted jeans that hugged her figure effortlessly. Her platinum-streaked hair was tied in a loose bun, with just enough strands framing her elegant face. She looked like someone from a magazine cover, refined, poised, and completely out of reach. But what struck me the most wasn't her beauty. It was her presence. She looked like a woman who had lived, really lived, and carried her stories in her eyes. Our eyes met briefly as she locked her door, and I offered a polite nod. She smiled warmly. "New here?" she asked, her voice rich and clear. I nodded. "Yeah, just moved in last week." "I'm Layla," she said, extending her hand. "Apartment 9C.
Ava.
9D, I replied, shaking her hand. There was something disarming about her. Her age, which I later learned was 43, didn't diminish her allure one bit. In fact, it added to it. She was self-assured in a way I had never seen before in anyone, let alone in the women I usually met. Over the following weeks, we bumped into each other more often, in the hallway, by the mailboxes, in the parking garage. Sometimes she wore yoga leggings and a loose tee. Other times, heels and a red dress that turned every head. She always greeted me with a smile, asked how I was settling in, offered tips about the neighborhood. Slowly, a friendship started forming. I would hear a knock on my door, and it'd be Layla holding 2 coffee mugs and a smirk. "You looked like you needed a break," she'd say. We started spending evenings together, mostly on her balcony, sipping wine and sharing stories under fairy lights and the gentle hum of city traffic below. She told me about her youth, her divorce, her travels to Morocco and Greece, her failed business that taught her more than her MBA ever did. I was captivated by her honesty, her laugh, her resilience. One night, we were watching a movie on her couch, a romantic drama that made us both a little too emotional. We were watching a movie on her couch, a romantic drama that made us both a little too emotional. I remember feeling her arm brush against mine, and for a second, I froze. My heart was pounding, not out of fear, but confusion. Was this just friendly? Or something else? As the credits rolled, I reached for the remote and paused. The room was quiet, except for the soft clinking of the ice in our glasses. Then she turned to me. "You know," she said gently, "you remind me so much of myself at your age." I smiled. "That's a compliment coming from you." "No," she said, placing her glass down. "It's more than that. I see the same restlessness in your eyes, the same hunger for meaning, but also the same fear of wanting too much." I looked at her, caught off guard by the depth in her words. She leaned in slightly. "And maybe I shouldn't say this," she whispered, "but I feel something between us." "Do you?" The air in the room changed instantly. My breath caught in my throat. I wasn't sure how to respond, but I couldn't lie to myself either. I did feel something, an undeniable pull I had been trying to ignore for weeks. "I don't know what this is," I said honestly, "but I do feel something too." She smiled, not smugly, but softly, with relief and vulnerability. "I'm not here to confuse you, Ava," she said. "I've had my share of chaos. I think we're supposed to be something to each other. I don't know what yet, but I'm willing to find out. If you are." I nodded slowly. "So am I." From that night on, our bond shifted. It wasn't instant intimacy or whirlwind romance. It was slow, careful, respectful. We talked more. We held hands on late-night walks. She introduced me to her favorite jazz albums, and I showed her my favorite indie films. We disagreed on books, laughed over bad cooking experiments, and learned to read each other's silences. But the world wasn't kind. There were raised eyebrows in the building, whispered comments about our age gap, about what people assumed was going on. My mother, when I told her, didn't take it well. "She's 43, Ava," she said harshly. "What kind of future do you think you have with her?"